I think data is still missing. You know, we're still missing a lot of data that could help us come up with more targeted interventions. And thank God with the statistics law now reviewed, I think there is some hope there. But when we were preparing this particular presentation, we wanted to present the reality of the Tanzania youth livelihood. Like, what are the prospects? What exactly is happening right now? What are the opportunities? What are the challenges that are, affecting youth or being an obstacle to youth development programs in Tanzania? And with COVID-19, it didn't make it any easy. So I don't know how many of you know, but Tanzania, we are following when it comes to development programs. We are supposed to be aligned with the 5-year national development strategy. And this is also supported, when we talk about skills development, it's also supported by the national skills development strategy. And in this particular document, what they have done is they have identified 6 priority areas. So you can see the 6 priority areas here. You have agriculture, business, you have ICT, you have tourism, you have energy, you have construction, and you have transport and logistics. But what we found most interesting was the fact that 37% of our population of 59 million is actually in the urban area, which is 63% in the rural areas. So this was sort of like a red light, a red flag for us, because again, we are reminded that even with most of the modules or interventions and support programs that we have been launching, either as an individual organization or from the wider network, most of them have been focusing on the urban population. But what we also found most interesting was the fact that you have the youth median age right now at 18 years of age. So when we speak about COVID-19, youth livelihoods, and digital skills for the future, we are actually targeting this 18-year-old right now. So as we continue, I would like for you to think about what we can do collectively in terms of really pushing for digital skills and digitalization in Tanzania in a way that it does present opportunities and advantages for the majority of the youth who are in this particular age right here. But the other question in this particular case would be, how do youth navigate through these 6 sectors, in employment or entrepreneurship? Agriculture has been seeing a lot of support from different stakeholders, public and private sector. ICT has been moving. I'll say I'm a bit worried about the pace, but we are doing. I think we have made some commendable strides on that particular front. The 2016 ICT policy does support the National Development Strategy Program development policy. So we are hoping to see more efforts in this particular field in terms of really pushing for ICT as an enabler and ICT as an avenue, as an area for opportunities for the youth. Tourism, energy, construction, transport, and logistics. So the bigger question here is, how do youth navigate through these 6 sectors for employment and entrepreneurship opportunities? But at the same time, how can we now embed digital skills as a prerequisite for all these fields? So if youth want to get into this particular fields, first of all, what do they look like? What's the roadmap, or what's the navigation route look like? And then what does digitalization have to do with it? And if not, what can digitalization have to do with it? And how can we support the youth to really take advantage of all these opportunities that are coming with digitalization in the country right now? Let's go to the overview of the current situation. And this is based on the programs that we have been running as an organization. The LaunchPad and Marifa Hub. Since 2018, we have reached over 800 youth in different skills development programs. So, and most of these programs have been benchmarked or designed to cater to the needs in those 6 priority sectors. Because again, as I had mentioned, as the LaunchPad, we have been working, or our mission and vision has been aligned with the National Development Strategy, but as well as the National Skills Development Strategy. So our overview of the current situation is, again, so how do youth navigate through these 6 sectors? And then the biggest challenges that we saw was, so first, the education system. And in this particular front, I would like to bring to your attention the fact that we actually have, as a nation now, a new national education curriculum framework that has taken into consideration competencies. So it's going to be competence-based, but also the 21st century skills. So creativity, problem solving, critical thinking, and a very large component of digital skills is actually going to be embedded. So I think where Tanzania Institute of Education is right now with implementation of the new framework is first doing an orientation with the stakeholders, but as well as the wider network of the educators, the educators network. So you're talking about the teachers, you're talking about the schools, how do they adapt, how do they transition into the new curriculum framework. But digital skills, or rather ICT, is a very big component. And as the LaunchPad, as the external validator for that curriculum framework, we're actually very excited to see how that will be executed on the ground and in different schools. And of course, one of the major challenges that we see affecting this from happening is infrastructure, and the fact that resources is still a very big challenge. The skills that we're also talking about here, and the current situation in the context of COVID-19, in the survey that we've done, and you'll see that in the next few pages, digital skills has been highlighted as one of the most important things that the youth, well, the wider network needs right now in the market, in the labor market. So we have seen, as the LaunchPad, we've seen a lot of challenges that were raised by different youth-led organizations that we have been supporting, different youth that we have been mentoring, who have brought to our attention the fact that even with the digital transition that they had to do from offline to online businesses, it wasn't as easy, because first of all, some of the operations could not be digitalized, so that was a big a challenge. But most importantly was the fact that they lacked in the required digital skills for them to even function as an organization or as a company or as a startup. So again, digital skills and skills in general is a big challenge when it comes to supporting you to navigate through these 6 sectors, and particularly now during and I suppose post COVID-19. But then again, what are the opportunities that have presented themselves, during this crisis and this pandemic? And again, the digital economy has taken, has taken off in a way that has left many of us, especially the countries in sub-Saharan Africa, behind. And as we have seen the transition in the community from shopping, avoiding physical contact and opting to shop online, a lot of these businesses as well could not really take off because they couldn't really grasp the opportunities that were presented in front of them because of the reality of, the communities that are around them. So you want to open an online shop, but then who are your customers and how will they, how will they access your services? The infrastructure that exists in that particular community or surrounding support you to do or to actually grasp that opportunity that comes with the digital economy. But then the other challenge that also came about is the bigger question of what is the ecosystem? So we're talking about youth livelihoods, we're talking about digital skills for the future, but what is the ecosystem? We have Digital Opportunity Trust. They're doing an amazing job. As the LaunchPad, we're here. You have Niagiri, you have Ndoto Hub, you have quite a number of organizations and institutes who are really to push for progress in this particular front. But it looks like we are still missing a comprehensive ecosystem, a defined ecosystem that will provide the youth with a clear pathway of how they can arrive now at a digital economy. So is it about the education? And if it's the education, if the education system is not or has not been transformed to cater to the particular needs that are in the market right now, so where do they go for to get more education to complement whatever that they're trying to achieve? Where do they go for the skills? Where do they go for the opportunities? We're still lacking a comprehensive ecosystem that would support youth to arrive at all this. We also realized that even with COVID-19, the most the biggest challenge was not just digitalization and the transition to digitalization, but the fact that most of the youth exist in the informal economy. So before we actually, design all these interventions that would target capacity building or support programs that would provide digital skills, we actually have to address this particular challenge. How do we integrate majority of the youth in the formal economy in a way that they can grasp the opportunities, really take advantage of the opportunities that are available, but only through the formal economy? So we need to get them in first and then expose them to the opportunities. With this one, with the LaunchPad, what we have been trying to do is to support them with registering their businesses, because we also realize that even with the intervention programs or the support programs that most of the development partners are designing right now, the only way that they will be reached or they will be included in these programs is if they are integrated in the formal economy, as well as in the social protection systems as well. But now let's go to the feedback from the survey, and this is really good to, I think, put into context the need or the urgency for digital skills. As I mentioned before, we did this sometime in May. We had over 340 sample responses from 13 regions in Tanzania. So this is not just in Dar es Salaam. As I mentioned before, this was done online. And two-thirds of us responded to the survey were male, and female participation is an issue, and this also plays into the gender digital divide. Why aren't females participating actively and effectively participating in even surveys like this to actually determine what they're going through, So again, the gender digital divide is very evident through this particular results. The sectors that were represented, so most of the respondents were from the agriculture sector. We had some from ICT, logistics, construction, social services, creatives, education, and tourism. And 25% of the survey involved in agribusiness. But the most affected.
Carol? No? Hi, Carol. Sorry to interrupt. I don't know whether it's our end, but the network is a bit disrupted. And I'm wondering whether the other attendees are feeling.
I didn't hear that.
I'm saying that the network seems a bit interrupted. We don't know whether it's on our end or your end. Anyone, can you comment?
Let's try. let's try the 0 to 10. Okay. Sorry, I think it's my network. So should I try logging on and off again? Because I think can you hear me now?
It's still slightly coming in and out. Whoever's on the attendee, I'll just call on your name. Nancy, can you hear Carol?
Yeah, it's still very difficult. Okay. We could try logging off, and on again, if that is an option. No? Okay. Just a minute. Always some time to please converse with just touch base with that because we can't hear. Okay, so you can hear me. Should I
So let's just give Carol a minute or two. She's trying to reconnect again.
Is it, can you hear me now? Hello, Diana? Oh, okay.
Yes, Carol, we
Thank you,
can hear
Aline.
you. Yeah, awesome.
Awesome, awesome. Sorry about that. Okay, so I don't know where exactly you want me to start off. Can I continue from this end, or should I go back a bit?
For sure.
Okay, so let me just do a recap of this particular section. So what I said before was the challenges that keep on arising or keep on being mentioned from the programs that we have been running during COVID-19 and what most of the youth are worried about, you know, in the new normal. Again, education is a challenge. Like, so most of them think or believe the education system is broken, but then until it is fixed, what are their options and how do they navigate or get all these other opportunities that are provided by some of the private, you know, some of the stakeholders in the private sector, but then again, inaccessible to the larger majority who are in the rural population. Skills is also a big issue, and again, this was very evident in the survey that we conducted, where digital skills was mentioned as the biggest challenge in terms of the digital or the transition that businesses or SMEs and startups had to make from offline businesses to online businesses. But then again, the opportunities that also came with the immediate needs, you know, that arise from COVID-19, but also the protective needs that arise from COVID-19 and the precautionary measures with social distancing, you know, avoiding physical contact. So opportunities like online shopping, most of our youth could not really access or really grasp the full advantage of these opportunities because, again, infrastructure is an issue. For example, one example that were given by our youth was they wanted to do an online delivery service, but when it comes to the roads in that particular area that they wanted to focus on, it was a big challenge, you know, and directions as well. And some of them even mentioned that, you know, Google Maps is not that reliable. So again, it's the digitalization as an opportunity, but it is a challenge in terms of you know, youth being able to access it because they, again, lack the digital skills and the digital know-how to access this. But the other challenge that I mentioned before was the ecosystem. And this is, it keeps being mentioned by the youth because one thing that they keep on saying is there are a lot of different programs that are being run by development partners in public and private sector, but there isn't a comprehensive ecosystem for them to know. For example, if they want to get maybe support in education, where do they go to? Who exactly is doing what? When it comes to skills, who exactly is doing what? Opportunities, who exactly is providing what? So again, working in silos is a big challenge that that keeps being mentioned. But then this also plays out into the biggest challenge, which is as stakeholders and as the ecosystem, what can we do collectively to really get youth to take advantage of or to really be part of digitalization during COVID-19 and use it to improve their livelihood? And one thing that we kept on discovering as the LaunchPad is the need and the urgency to integrate them into the formal economy, because most of them are in the informal economy. So even with the support programs that we're trying to design right now, that is our first priority, because we also feel that it's not just about the LaunchPad and these support programs, but then again, also other development partners, if they are going to design any interventions, the youth will be effectively and widely reached if they are in the formal economy. So physical addresses, you know, business licenses for them to even, you know, be future prospects for financial inclusion, programs that are run by different organizations and financial institutions as well. So now let's talk about the feedback that we got from the survey. And again, as I mentioned, we did this, we got 340 plus respondents. And this was from 13 regions in Tanzania. So this was not just in Dar es Salaam. But one thing that kept on, and of course, now I'm talking as a gender equality advocate, but also as a digital gender divide advocate. So I'm trying to advocate for that. But one thing that kept on becoming more evident was the gender digital divide. And even with this survey, from 300 and something respondents who are youth and entrepreneurs in small businesses and micro enterprises, only two-thirds of those were male. So again, female participation is a big issue. And the sectors that were I think the majority, the large sectors that were represented by these respondents were agribusiness and tourism. And at that time, the tourism sector had just taken a big hit because we had the shutdown, you know, the border shutdown. So all the flights were grounded, nothing was moving. So the hospitality industry as well got really affected. Zanzibar and Arusha regions, one of the most affected areas when it comes to this, because they are the leading in the hospitality industry. But then the cultural economy was another field that was largely affected and, you know, that was represented in this survey. So music and creatives were also dominant in this survey, and because they were most affected, most of the, you know, music shows and concerts and other opportunities that come in the industry could not take place because of COVID-19. But the 97%, what was most striking was 97% of those surveyed have been impacted in some way by the COVID-19 pandemic, you know, and 1% went through a total business shutdown. And from that now, we tried to look at what exactly do they need. So from the survey, we asked them, if we are to support you, or if other stakeholders are to support you, what exactly do you need to support you to continue with your livelihood, you know? So when it comes to business continuity, but livelihood as well, how do we support you to continue? And as you can see here, there were quite a number of not really recommendations, but what they say they needed. But these are the two things that we as the LaunchPad found most interesting, because we're like, okay, When it comes to costs waived, utilities like water and electricity, that really made sense. And I remember even the water company, Dawasa, what they did during COVID-19 is to try to waive off the deadlines for paying the bills. So at least that was something that was done on that front. But coming back and putting this into context into what we're talking about, from the 340 plus responses, one of the things that kept on repeating itself was capacity building, skills to transition to technologies, to new technologies and business models. So digital skills, again, was something that was repeatedly asked for by all these entrepreneurs and owners of these small businesses. And one of the questions that I wanted to raise to you was, from all this, what exactly are options, or what exactly are the youth, the options for these particular youth involved, and how realistic is it to digitalize majority of the youth who are in the informal economy? So if you look at, for example, the youth who have started maybe food businesses, they're catering, all these maybe fries businesses, but they have, like, it's a business that actually gets them an income and revenue, if whether it's daily or per month or whatever. How realistic is it to really digitalize, or rather support this youth to transition into digitalization with the informal businesses that we have, considering that the new normal is all about digitalization and digital skills? And if that is the case, can we put it into, context, in the sense that should we put that into levels? So this is what you need this is what you need when it comes to digital skills to run a small business, or these are the essential digital skills that you need if you want to go into the employment market, etc., etc. But I thought this was also more interesting in a way that it's not that people were not doing anything. We asked them how they were responding from this particular survey. And there were a couple of elements here. And as you can see, the first one, which also struck us really hard, was family. So the fact that most of these youth had to, the ones who are in business had to sit down with their families, the ones who are married or in relationships, or with families that actually depend on them, to actually explain to them that, this is how COVID-19 is affecting them and how they're navigating. But then when it comes to the digital strategy transition, and the skills here, how they were responding was, first, the delivery of goods and services to customers' front door, online business. So from offline to online, most of them had actually transitioned into online businesses by opening up social media pages and boosting their business profiles online through digital marketing. And with skills, most of them had started, reskilling to get new skills for new business ideas. So we saw some of them actually use free sources tool like Canva to come up with new kinds of branding for their businesses, to give them that oomph in the online presence. But upskilling to also go with emerging technologies. And this was something that was highlighted in terms of organizational wise for them, or for the staff, organizational capacity to continue working remotely. So digital skills as a prerequisite for remote working during COVID-19 and post-COVID-19. I think I will share this. I think I would like to get into, I see that we're running out of time, so I'd like to get into the questions now. But this is basically what we would like to call the innovation continue to canvas. And digital skills is a big part of this, So, but digital skills in a way that you embrace and embed technology, or the technological services that you could really take advantage of in boosting your businesses or improving your livelihood through employment or entrepreneurship. So this is something that we actually use from RISE to support our youth when it comes to digital skills, but also the digital transition from offline to online. So the possibilities, and this is when now I open the floor to the rest of you. Is there urgency for digital skills for the future, considering the current landscape? So what exactly need to learn how to code? to navigate.
Carol, we're losing you.
When we talk about digital skills for the future, how can we design youth development programs to support the 6 priority sectors using tech and digitalization as an enabler for employment and entrepreneurship? And what are the youth capacity building programs like today in Tanzania? So traditional models versus what? What exactly are we suggesting? The traditional models have always been about vocational skills, life skills, but when it comes to the digital skills, what exactly are we doing on that particular front to really embed this as a prerequisite in the capacity building programs that are targeting youth? And lastly, how do we integrate majority of youth in the formal economy and eventually in the digital economy? So I think I'm going to open this up to the other stakeholders. Oh, okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Diana? Hello.
Yes, Carol, we can hear you.
Hello.
Carol, we can hear you.
Someone please say something. Hello?
Carol, I can hear you.
Awesome. Okay. Right. So, Diana, if you're there, how do you want to do this? Do we take a raise, a show of hands from the participants? I would like to get to hear their thoughts as well, but also if there are any programs or the work that they're doing on the ground in terms of supporting digital skills for the future, what exactly is being done, organizationally from them. And if that is not, happening, what can we do together now, as a collective group, not necessarily a coalition, but what exactly would be our binding or our agenda that will align us all together? So digital skills for the future, yes, but where do we begin? How do we navigate, and how do we design programs that would benefit majority of the youth in a sense that will leave no one behind? So I'd like to open this up now. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. If you have any comments, please, just a show of hands. And I think Diana will be doing the moderating. I know the Canadian High Commission, the Swiss Embassy have been supporting quite a number of programs, development programs, youth development programs in the country. So if we could hear from you, if there's any interventions that you have been designing to support youth with digital skills for the future in the context of the new normal, during COVID-19 and post-COVID-19. Aline, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Aline, we can hear you.
Ah, good. Sorry, I had a problem with my mic. Well, I'm Aline. Yeah. Well, thanks a lot for the presentations. You brought a lot of good points, and yeah, I have a lot of thoughts, and you gave a lot of good impulses. But maybe I can start with what we do actually at the Swiss Embassy. So it's true, we have supported.
Okay, I think Aline, what you have to do is connect the audio. I think there's a way that you need to connect the audio because we can't hear you. Okay. I know your microphone is on, but yeah, we can't hear you. But in the meantime,
is it better now without a
comment or share experience from any work that you're doing or learnings from any work that you're doing to push for digital skills for improved youth livelihoods? We would really like to hear from you, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, Aline. Please go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I thought you could hear me before. So what we actually have, I mean, in the past, we have supported different youth development programs, but right now we're actually launching a new program working with FSDT.
Diana, could it be my speaker? Because I really can't hear Aline.
Yes, we can hear Aline loud and clear.
Oh, so
interesting.
Should I just continue or?
Yes, please go ahead, Aline. And
yeah,
she'll try
so now we are starting a new program actually with the FSDT. I don't know if you know FSDT, the Financial Sector Deepening Trust in Tanzania. They have a lot of experience in financial inclusion. So, what we're doing in this new program is actually focusing on inclusive finance related to youth, especially rural youth. Well, FSDT, they're working with a lot of different markets and let's say priority group, but we're really interested in what we can do for rural youth. So, I mean, our focus is not necessarily to willingly have a shift from the informal to the formal business, but our aim with the program is to give youth the skills and the tools to work with what they have. So working on new financial solutions and new financial products that are actually adapted for youth. Because in the past few years, we have seen, I mean, this huge surge of mobile money and other financial, new financial tools, but actually for some part of the population, these new tools are not that accessible. So that's what we're actually focusing on, and we saw there is actually this big need for capacity building also, you know, this financial literacy. A lot of youth, I mean, even if they are farming on the side, they have their own business. So how can you actually give them the right skills for that? So I guess all these points you raised also in your survey. And there was one thing that I found quite striking when you spoke about the missing clear ecosystem. So I was wondering a little bit, I mean, there's a lot of different programs, but what is actually missing? Is it the coordination or, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud, would it be helpful to have one sort of platform that, that goes through, if you want to start a business, these are the steps, these are the organizations doing this and this, focusing on these and these markets. So I don't know, it seems like the missing clear ecosystem is kind of not an easy point to solve, but it's something that just through talking with the different people in the ecosystem, it seems kind of easy to to coordinate and solve this problem, if that is a demand. I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud, but that's something quite striking that I found from the results of your survey.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much, Aline. Yeah, so let me put that into context. There have been quite a number of comments when it comes to the ecosystem, and I'm sure Diana would agree with me, something that we keep on hearing every time we go to this stakeholders meetings and conferences, right? But there hasn't been substantial efforts to push for example, the platform that you're mentioning. And one of the things that kept on coming up was the fact that most of the efforts in the country have been focusing on tech innovation and not digitalization as an enabler, you know, for entrepreneurship or business. So most of them have been focusing on coding and tech, you know, tech businesses or tech innovation businesses. So all these apps, you know, to do A, B, C, and D, or to improve on A, B, C, and D. But when it comes to the urgent need for youth to really get the digital skills for them to navigate, whether it is in entrepreneurship or employment opportunities. That is the one thing that kept on being mentioned, like with the ecosystem, that is still like there are different partners doing a lot of things, but there isn't one joining thing. And then there was duplication of efforts that also kept on coming up in terms of, for example, if the LaunchPad is targeting 100 youth in Dar es Salaam, in 2 weeks or a month, DOT would launch a program also providing maybe digital skills. Most likely out of the 100 that they will also be targeting, 50 of them would also come from the other program. So it's also about how as stakeholders, how do we avoid duplication of efforts? And if it is, can we try to avoid duplication and maybe support or design it in a way that it is supporting one another in terms of advancement. So if you're going to provide maybe an intermediary skills development course, maybe somebody else comes and develops this, but then you would have 3 providers or 3 organizations or 3 partners in the country targeting youth, for example, in Mbeya, and they're all going for life skills, but no one is going for digital skills that would actually complement, you know, the life skills, or no one is going for financial skills that would actually complement the life skills. So that is the context that I was actually speaking on. I hope I was clear on that. But one other thing that I wanted to also mention is tomorrow, the LaunchPad will be unveiling the situational analysis report on digitalization and entrepreneurship. And this is one of the areas that we are trying to address in terms of trying to not really diverge the focus, but also to sort of like a call to action for the wider stakeholders network in terms of the efforts and the interventions and the support programs that are being launched in the country to not just be focusing on tech innovation, but also be designed in a way that will take into consideration the urgent need for digital skills for the future. So digital economy, e-commerce platforms, remote work or gig platform, how exactly do we support the youth in really grasping these opportunities? So that situation analysis report is actually going to highlight the current ecosystem as it is. And if I'm not mistaken, we're actually drawing from what is being dubbed as the Silicon Valley in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam. But again, we do highlight in that particular report that even with that Silicon Valley or ecosystem, they have been focusing again on tech-based innovation and not necessarily digitalization as an enabler or tech as an enabler for entrepreneurship and employment as an avenue for improved livelihoods for youth. Do we have another comment, question?
Thanks a lot. I think what you're saying is very, very relevant. Thank you.
Do we have any more questions? I would really like to hear from the others when it comes to the questions that I posed to you, you know, at the end. When we say, because when we talk about 21st century skills, we have been hearing a lot of buzz around obviously digital skills, but creativity, problem solving, critical thinking, negotiation, decision-making skills. But then when we speak about digital skills for the future, what exactly does that mean in the Tanzanian context? Considering the opportunities and the challenges that actually exist, you know, on the ground. Any comments on that, please?
Carol, Nancy has her hand up. She wants to contribute.
Awesome. Karibu, Nancy.
Thanks. Thanks, Dana. Thanks, Carol. First of all, just say that's a very good presentation that you just took us through. I mean, it's an eye-opener considering the current times of COVID and the different impacts that it's having on youth, both in the informal sector and the formal sector. And one thing that really struck me is the digital gender divide that the survey was able to capture, looking at it that among 340 responses that you got, only a third of those were female. So that kind of put a question to me like, okay, so what is happening? It just made me think like, okay, so exactly what is happening, and where are the young girls, young women in this digital divide? I mean, in the digital economy and the digital innovation. So that's something that's just going through my mind. And then maybe this, I'll pose a question. I'm not so sure if I'm putting you on the spot, but I would kind of like to understand like how, not to go to the details of how the survey was done, but I just wanted to understand how did you capture that? I mean, and what did that imply to you? What does that? Did you manage to get some sense of it, like why the females are not taking part in this survey? Then that's one comment question I'd pose to you. Sorry for putting you in the spot. And maybe just to briefly say what the embassy around youth and livelihoods, in the work that we do. So the embassy, through our partner IYF, this International Youth Foundation, we work on, we're working with IYF, and IYF has a implementing partner, Don Bosco, where they provide livelihoods trainings to youth. And this is a year 2 of the Youth Lead program with the different centers of Don Bosco in Dodoma, Dar es Salaam, and Tura, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the area that we, as the embassy, have been taking the time, and we've been putting and inserting our interest in being able to create, to at least to be able to bridge the gap within the skills mismatch. And also that is the area, and youth in general is an area where the embassy is keen to learn, hence us supporting the DOT in this summit as well. So we are keen to understand what the different opinions and challenges that youth face from people like you, from organizations like you, and for us to be able to further help inform us further in how we better complement that, and also the different efforts that our partners are doing, but also other DPGs. Thanks, Kara. Thanks, Dana.
Okay. Thank you. So if I remember correctly, the first question, did we capture that, the gender digital divide? We designed the survey. Again, this was an online survey. So how we designed the survey, it captured where they're from, where the business is based, the revenue, income, and of course, gender. And that's something that's how we captured the fact that 2/3 of the ones who responded were men. But I would like to bring to your attention another session that will be conducted by Women at Web. And I think this will be, or rather we'll go more into detail in terms of what exactly is the gender digital divide in Tanzania, how or what are the factors that are affecting effective and active participation of women when it comes to, development dialogues or conversations, or even them partaking in surveys like this, right? So I hope I've answered that. The second one that I actually wanted to bring into your attention was the snapshot. This is a snapshot report. It's a Tanzania digital report that was produced by AIM Group. And let me just share this. Share screen, where are you? There we go. So I want to bring to your attention even more effects, or rather evidence of the gender digital divide, right? And this is a snapshot of the Tanzania digital landscape during COVID-19. This was done by AIM Group, for those who know AIM Group. But what I found most interesting was, so you have 3.7 million users, who are sharing at least one post per month. 12% of Tanzanians above 15 years have transacted online. 40% of your followers are active on social media every day. But when, again, it came to, and these are the numbers that put it into more context, so out of the 59.7 million population that we have. You have 22.1 in urban. And again, this plays into the 37% that we were talking about earlier. But then 40 out of the 48.9 million, what keeps on missing in all these reports is the disaggregated data that would actually tell us who, out of the 48.9, how many of them are female, how many of them are male, you know? And that's something that even as Women at Web, my other organization, we're really struggling with, and we're really trying to conduct a study that would really capture the numbers, because we cannot continue designing targeted interventions to increase or promote or encourage online participation of women if we don't know how many women are actually online. But I think, hold on. Yes, is it this one? No. I think it was Facebook, which is apparently one of the most used social media platforms. But the numbers in this actually put into context even more the gender digital divide, right, that we have. So yeah, I think we're almost there. Yeah, is it? Yeah, there we go. So this is the audience overview, right? And here you have Facebook. So you have, out of 3.7 monthly active users in Tanzania, only 38% are female users. So when we do talk about the digital skills, you know, this is something that we really have to put into consideration. And again, is access the issue? Is affordability in terms of data and, you know, actually owning a smartphone or a feature phone an issue? Is appetite in terms of the local content that is available online that maybe does not resonate with them or is not appealing to them? How do we produce, or how do we whet their appetite in a way that would get online, or even go after digital skills to you know, improve their personal and professional development? So I just wanted to put that into more context, because I feel like these numbers really highlight even more, you know, further highlight the problem that we have in terms of the gender digital divide. But yeah, did I miss another question, Nancy?
No, you got everything. Thanks, Kara.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, do we have another question, comment?
So Kara, I think also Nancy touched on something interesting. It's around how do we educate the donors as well, in terms of where they need to make meaningful investment, where are the actual gaps according to these studies that are currently ongoing. Yeah.
Yeah, so on that, yeah, how we always respond to that as the LaunchPad is, we always try to push for a holistic approach. So skills, we always say that as much as we're going to push for skills development for the youth and women in Tanzania, there is no way that that is sufficient in terms of sustainability. You can give a person skills, but then what do they do with that skill? You know, how do they go, where do they go from there? So for example, I'll give you an example of one of the programs that we ran in Zanzibar. And what we had to design was, again, the holistic approach. So yes, it was a skills development program that ran for 4 weeks. But then after that, we actually designed a pathway for them. From the skills development program, we would actually sit with them. Now it became sort of like an incubator and accelerator program for the small businesses that, you know, were taking part. But what we did was we took the ones who were at ideation stage, but then also the ones who had already launched their businesses to support them with that business, what do you call it? The business company building. So refining the idea, going through the business model and the business plan. And then after that, we had to give them seed funding. So skills development, incubator accelerator program, mentoring and coaching, okay? But then in between, you have to inject funds. And this is something that we keep on insisting as the LaunchPad, because again, 37% is in the urban population when it comes to the youth. Most of these, the 63% that is left out there, they cannot afford the skills development programs that other providers are providing. So one call to, for example, the donors would be to multiply, you know, to amplify, to increase, you know, all these interventions that are being launched. So they can't afford to pay for upskilling and reskilling. So if we're looking for impactful investment, we need to come up with a holistic approach that would not just provide or, support them with upskilling and reskilling, but a platform or platforms that would actually put their skills to work in a way that they would actually see revenue or income, and of course, improve livelihood at the end. So that's one thing that I would really insist on, a holistic approach. But then with impactful investment, we really need to be cognizant of the fact that as long as the education system is still being worked on, and as long as the majority of youth cannot access the providers that are on the ground right now, we need to come up with more free, accessible programs that will support youth with upskilling and reskilling in terms of digital skills, but then not just leave them there. So come up with a holistic approach that would not just leave them with a skill, but that would support them to actually use that particular skill.
Hello.
Hi, Lilian. Karibu.
Asante. Hopefully you can all hear me.
Yep.
Thanks for the very nice presentation, Carol. Issue of duplication of efforts for among us stakeholders. It's true that most of the intervention that Dar es Salaam, most of the youth living in up countries who cannot have digital access are not reached by us. So I know sometimes it is a little bit challenging because of funds and donor restrictions. So I had an idea on how we can reach the youth who are living in our countries who do not have this access to these opportunities. Maybe we can use because there are youth in our countries who can have this access. We can train those few youth who can be actually to other youth in their communities. This could help us reach more youth and to make them updated on the digital world that we are currently in. Yeah.
I love that. I love that idea. And I think that would be what we call a youth-centric approach, because you will be using the youth to further create sort of like a spiral effect in terms of upskilling and reskilling other youth. I think that's a brilliant idea. And again, that's something that actually comes back to what we're also trying to do as a LaunchPad in terms of supporting the government in the, what do you call it? Is it halmashauri? What is halmashauri in English?
Is it? Oh, I forgot.
Municipal.
Municipal, something like that. Is
municipal,
it?
Yeah. So the municipal loans, the municipal loans that are being provided by the government, the 442, 4% for women, 4% for youth, 2% for the disabled. What we do try to do is they give them business loans, so they go with a business plan. First they form themselves in a group and they go with a business plan to the municipal. And again, this 10% is supposed to be from the revenue collection, from the municipal collections. So they have been supporting quite a number of youth. And I'm talking about, this is an initiative that is being run across the country. However, the challenges that keep on arising is, again, skills. In terms of financial management skills, business skills. So they are given the money, but then how do they manage it? And then again, during COVID-19, what we actually saw was most of them had to default on the loan because they could not transition to online businesses. So the very first few weeks when COVID-19 was very, very serious in Tanzania and most of the people had to shut down or opt for remote, work, most of these youth groups who had ventured, who had gotten the loans and who had ventured into businesses like catering or running a restaurant or running a cleaning business or running whatever, they really suffered from this. But then one thing that we kept on insisting is, this is why we need to give them digital skills, because if they had a certain level of digital skills, and of course complemented by the business skills and financial management skills, they would have been most probably able to navigate or come up with a business continuity plan during COVID-19 and obviously after. So I definitely agree with you, and using youth, you know, as pioneers or as the agents who can create that spiral effect in terms of providing or sharing that capacity with other youth, I think that would be one of the approaches to go, especially when it comes to youth in the rural areas. Yeah. Do we have another comment? No? Christabel, you've been very quiet. Khadija? Hillary? Jasmine? No?
Maybe let's give them a second.
Well, Dan, I don't think there's any other comment, and I don't see any other question. And unfortunately, I've said all that I wanted to say. So, do we call it a wrap?
Yep, I think we call it. There are not more comments, but I think it would be interesting to see where do we go from here? What are the next steps? Who else amongst the attendees would be interested to carry this conversation forward?
That would be great. And I would highly recommend if they can also join us tomorrow for the unveiling of the situational analysis on digitalization and entrepreneurship. I think there's quite a lot to learn from there. And from the recommendations that we got from the study, it would be sort of like a starting point or starting a kickoff for the conversation of what can we do together, or the call to action for the stakeholders in attendance. So perhaps we push that to tomorrow, because this is actually, they are very interconnected. I think Dana didn't hear me. Did you?
Yeah, no, I think that's perfect, Carol. There's a comment from Hillary as well. I want to respond.
Okay, so yeah, so you can find the LaunchPad study on our website. That's www. Let me just type it. Oh, what's wrong with my thingy? I'm going to type the website here, but it's the LaunchPad. Oh, my keyboard is not working. This is interesting. But it's www.thelaunchpad.or.tz. Aline, the session I'm referring to is digitalization and entrepreneurship. I think it's happening from 2:30 tomorrow to 3:30. Yeah, so there is a report that we will be unveiling, which was commissioned by a German foundation, Konrad Adenauer Stiftung. So yeah, if you can join us tomorrow, that would be really great. There we go. Oops. Yeah, so I'm just going to type the website into the, I wish if I could just find. Yeah, but what I'll also do, Diana, is I'll send you the direct link to the report, and maybe you can share that in an email, perhaps, if that's okay, as well as the digital landscape report by AIM. Will that be okay?
Yeah, very well.
Awesome. Sawa. Thank you, Aline. Thank you, Lilian. Thank you, Hillary. Thank you, Hadija. Thank you, Christabel. Thank you, Justice. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, Nancy. And again, thank you, Dot, for having us, the Launchpad. It's always a pleasure. And yeah, let's keep on pressing for progress.
Thanks a lot, Caro. And I was wondering if there were 50 attendees, would you repeat name by name?
No, I would not.
Caro,
but for those who are also watching on YouTube, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Caro. And for those of you who are interested to follow more of Caro's work, she had a presentation today, but she also has another report sharing tomorrow. Her other organization, Women at Web, will also be running a workshop to explore how to engage women online. So yesterday I was making a joke saying if there is an exceptional partner for the summit, then it has been the Launchpad because taking on 3 or 4 sessions within the summit, and I really want to take a step back and appreciate that. Caro, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you. It's always a pleasure. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Bye. We'll follow up with more details.
Okay.